I wanted to have a little riff on a particular theme that I notice uh, with any woman who decides that she wants to be in business, in service to others in some way, shape, or form. And this also goes with any kind of new goals that we set for life, for anything. You may have experienced it before where you decide you want a new version of life, and then all of a sudden things don't go right. They seem to almost go more wrong as you start to step towards it, right? And Abraham Hicks talks about it being a letting in process. Sometimes we don't get the thing that we want straight away because we're not in vibrational alignment to it yet. We have to become the version of ourselves that can see it, that can receive it, that can do it first. And it's the letting in process that most people, A, unaware of, B, have no idea how to navigate, because there's no one way, because everyone's letting in process is going to be their own favorite flavor of all the things that they have to overcome. And so it's the thing that over the years, if I hadn't started to recognize this pattern that happens when you set new goals and you go for new levels, it would have taken me out as well. 100%. It still is a thing for me. At the beginning of the year, I set a new goal for myself that I wanted to impact. Like, I wanted to know that I've impacted a million lives. I know that the message has already reached millions over the years, but I want to know that I've impacted a million lives, and I want to make $1 million in my business in the next couple of years. So I knew, I like braced myself. I was like, okay, like at least the first half of this year is probably going to be really messed up in some way, and I don't get to know how yet. And so that's where we do foundational work and make sure that the major things underneath us are grounded so that we at least don't lose our footing completely. But we can never know exactly what the letting in process is going to be. And this has happened so many seasons throughout my time in business. And it's the main thing that I see takes women out of the game. It takes people out, makes people give up, tap out. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, it's just maybe it's not for me. Right? All the things that our mind will come up with because the brain's just lazy and it doesn't actually want us to be successful and happy and wealthy and all these things. So what we have to recognize is that sometimes what we're asking for, we're not ready to let in yet. And what we get is the letting in process. Now, sometimes the letting in process is that our family don't support us or our partner doesn't get it. Sometimes it is backlash or judgment, known or just in our head. Sometimes it's money stresses and we're trying to come at it from I need to make sales to get money and not to actually be of service. And sometimes it's that we have absolutely no strategy around money. Sometimes it's that we hate sales. And so why would we be okay with selling something that we have? Sometimes it's fear of being seen. Sometimes it's imposter syndrome, self-doubt, comparison to others, copying others, not having any kind of clear business plan at all. Sometimes it's spending money on all of the rah-rah exciting stuff and not actually taking any action. Sometimes it is getting too much into our masculine where it feels forced and therefore energetically it doesn't work. Sometimes it's that we don't have the motivation because we actually don't have a vision. Maybe it's lacking in accountability, both within ourselves, because we're not actually looking at all the things that are coming up. We're seeing them as a reason not to when they're actually the reason to move into them. Maybe we're not getting support around us. We're not getting a coach. We're not getting in environments that are supportive of where we're going. Maybe it's our personal life that gets in the way. Oh, yeah, I've tried to do that business, but the kids, my job, my health, right? It happens to everyone. And so we're starting to make the letting in process something that we all know about, that we all start to prepare for every single time we set new goals, so that instead of greeting your own flavor of letting in process, whatever it turns out to be, as, oh God, this is too hard. Maybe I don't want to do it, as, oh, there you are. Knew you were coming. Didn't know you'd look like that. Like, I didn't know that me setting a goal to make $1 million and help 1 million people was going to come in the flavor of a love affair that turned weird and brought up all the shadows that I needed to see, right? We never get to know what the letting in process is going to be at each new stage. We just need to know that it's coming, and to constantly use that honing beacon of, I'll say it again, the pillars, the things that create stability, both in our mind, in our health, and in our environment, so that we're not taken out by stress about a bill. We're not taken out by stress because our partner's doing God knows what. We're not taken out by stress because the kids are exhausting, because we actually haven't communicated with them that they could be part of this process, so that you can make lots of money and then you can all go to Disneyland together, right? All the strategies are there for creating enough stability in your mind, your body, and your environment, so that no matter what your letting in process turns out to be, we can handle it. We can laugh at it. We can dance with it, right? This is the importance of it. And I also see so many women, especially that come through this place, and I get it, that decide you want to do the thing. You see lots of people out there doing it, and maybe the first 6 months, year, 5 years since you made that decision, not much has happened, or it doesn't seem like much has happened because you haven't got the money in the bank, or you haven't got the actual business set up. My letting in process from the moment I decided I wanted to help people was years. I didn't have any of the stuff that you guys have access to, which is great, but years and years and years of having to lay it back and figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And was I going to do it no matter what, even if I got my heart broken, or even if I got sick, or even if I was homeless, right? It was having to recommit and recommit and recommit and recommit and recommit and recommit. That's where the pillars were born, because it was like, okay, it's a lot easier to do that through all sorts of weird things that happen when these things are solid, when I at least am looking at these things and going, okay, that's good. Let's solidify that. Oh, that needs propping up. It was a great honing beacon just to create more stability. But my letting in process, before I actually started becoming successful as a coach, as what I do now, which I had no idea I was going to end up doing, by the way, right? We don't get to know what the journey is going to lead to, but it was years. Because I, as many of you who are going to watch this, you set the goal because you want to help people, not just because you want to like scam people for their money, right? And if you wanted to go scam people for money, you could go and pay someone to make a course and boost it with ads, and probably still not, because the energy is not behind it, right? But you are in this, you've set this intention, you've come into these spaces because you actually want to create a difference, change, something that makes you feel good, someone else feel good, and that makes you money, which means that you have to actually grow a little bit to be the woman who does that. And even though it might feel like not much has happened from the moment you made the decision 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever it is, to now, because you haven't got the money in the bank, can we recognize all the layers, both within your mind, in maybe your physical health, and in your environment, and in your knowledge and your wisdom that you've actually built, that you've actually stacked, that you've learned, that you've released certain things, that you've set the stage, that you've built the foundations, or you're building them. Because I know that I didn't actually want to start coaching, holding other people's lives until I knew that I'd really still like stabilized myself. Because up until about 3 years ago, I was still having like absolute catastrophe panic attacks if the guy hurt my feelings. I was like, I'm solid in all these things and I can teach all sorts of stuff at that point. But I was like, I also don't feel like I'm ready to take on the responsibility of a bunch of other people's really heavy stuff. Because this is the thing, when you're in service, you won't just attract these perfect clients who do the work and get results and have happy lives and love you. You're going to attract all sorts of people who have really like heavy stuff going on. And so if you're not taking it seriously and building the stability within yourself so that you can be solid for them, which will also make you tons of money, and it's going to get them results. not because you do the work for them, whatever it is your service is, but because you're solid, because you're an example of what's possible. You get to actually do it for you first, and then the business stuff becomes easy. The money making becomes easy. The client attraction becomes easy because you are it. You are the thing that the people want. Doesn't matter what you say online. It doesn't matter what your messaging is. All of that actually doesn't matter if you're not being it. So you just get to be it. And that is most likely what you're already on the way to being and what's been happening, even though it's not given you money in the bank yet. So let's start to bring that to the surface in our conversations. Let's remember that there is a letting in process, and it will evolve the more goals you set, because you'll achieve things and you'll be like, cool, big new goals, letting in process, cool, right? So let's be aware of it moving forward so that we can navigate it all together. And also, this is why I encourage constant celebration of what you are implementing, what you have changed. I was having a chat with a client just the other day about this, and there was frustration, right? And I've had this conversation probably with every single one of you and myself. I've had this conversation with my coach where there's frustration because maybe we haven't done the thing that we wanted to get done by now. And we're frustrated because we think, oh, well, I'm stuck. I've not really achieved much in this last 6 months. It's like, well, actually you have. To use her and myself as an exact same example, but with different situations, the things that have happened have provided opportunity to show up as the new self, to implement the foundations, and it's also reflected the stories and the belief systems and the resistance that's in the way of that next level. The fact that I have a existential kink of like wanting to be important to certain people in my life, like specific people, means that when I'm not important to specific people, I then either go into like, I need to like remember my importance and I hermit myself and I don't attract anything, or I can go into the kink of I need to get importance from everyone, which then makes me completely unimportant and not seen. I didn't need to know about that part of myself to make a 6-figure-a-year business. However, I needed to know about that part of myself for the next layer. And that's why it's come to the surface in this wonderful, weird way that it has this year. And those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I have been sharing it once a week, what's been happening and what I've been working on the last couple of months offline. But it's been really fun. And so celebrating what has been coming up and using any resistance or shit going down in your personal life or sickness in the body or things just not going the way that you wanted to, or you not getting the things done as, oh, this is my letting in process. This is my opportunity to come back to the work that's in the program, because that's literally the best way to just go, oh, what have I not implemented? What have I not communicated with Kat that's actually going on, so we can work through it quickly? Because every single moment of resistance in your letting in process is an opportunity to choose the new behavior, choose the new story, choose the new way of doing things that you've gotten clear on through the program. And every time you do, you're stacking belief in the new self. You're programming your brain to see opportunities as the new self and not as the old self. You start attracting more people as the new self and opportunities and money. That's how it works. That's why we do this combination. So I'm very excited as some of you are coming through the initial stages of the letting in process into more of the action and implementation stages, so that you can start seeing how much it works and how quickly it can work too. So that's my little ramble on that, because I felt like I always need that one, and maybe some other people need it too.